Previously on the Rubin Report.
Was that justice?
Last time you got laid.
Fish head. You. That seems worth $20 million.
He blew it up.
Drug cartel shit. Am I wrong here? Just maintain his erection.
That's what the Iranian government believes.
Nobody should wear their glasses there unless he's a Democrat. All right, guys, my first week back on the grid is almost coming to a close, which means it's Friday and time for another roundtable extravaganza. I'm still Dave Rubin. This is still the Rubin Report, and joining me are the hosts of the Members Club podcast, Erin Wexler and Charlie Arnold. Ladies, how are you?
We're great.
Wouldn't it be interesting if you came back and you weren't still the same person?
In some ways, I'm a different person, but my name is still the same. And to go through the branding exercise of changing all of this would be an awful lot. I do have to say, I think this is going to be one of the best shows we've ever done. I really do. I feel that
I see what you did there.
This show is going to be very large and wonderful. But before we get to that, I just want to remind people real quick, the Don't Burn This World tour is continuing in another content. That's right. I'm going to Australia with the kangaroos and the koalas and the giant lizards and insects and things. I'll be at the Capitol Theatre in Melbourne, Australia on October 18th with former Deputy Prime Minister John Anderson. He'll also be joining me at Concourse Concert Hall in Sydney on October 21st. And then I'll be at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre on October 27th with British journalist Andrew Neil. But enough about me, ladies. Let's dive into the week that was. You know, I stepped away from all of this. I come back. Things are basically crazy, but you guys launched a podcast. You seem to be handling the crazy well. Let's see if we can decipher some of it. Let's just.
Do we have a choice?
No.
Do we have a choice?
Well, we don't. Well, I suppose
we deal with what we're dealt. That's the name of the game here. So we're just rolling with the punches.
Exactly. And Charlie, if I'm not mistaken, you live in New York. Is that right?
I'm in New York.
You are in New York.
Crazy is the name of the game.
Right.
We'll send her letters, Dave, when she's no longer allowed to leave when Zohran Mamdani's hired, you know?
Right, exactly.
We'll send her care packages. We'll sneak notes into the food.
Well, Erin, I know you just moved into a new place. Do you have an extra room in case when goes down and Charlie has to get out?
People might not know this because Charlie's personality is so big, but she's actually like a very petite woman. So it'd be very easy to fit her anywhere in the apartment.
Just stow me somewhere, whatever.
Anywhere.
Shove me somewhere. Who cares?
All right. Well, let's talk. We're not going to start with New York specifically, but obviously what's generally going on in our cities. This has been years of this nonsense already, largely because of Democrats and Joe Biden or the auto pen letting in 21 some odd million people and not having policing and allowing drugs and homelessness and crime and all of those things. It's not going well in the cities. There's been a lot of focus on Chicago lately and what we are doing or what Trump is doing as it pertains to sending ICE and feds in and all that. Here is border czar Tom Homan saying, yeah, we're going to flood the zone. We're going into Chicago, L.A., New York, and more.
Let me just begin with Chicago, which is very much in the news. President is getting ready, I guess, to send the National Guard into Chicago. And you can tell us you're going to be a part of this. Your agents, your ICE agents. Chicago believes it's a sanctuary city, but I don't think that's going to stop you with respect to criminals. Can you tell us what's going to happen here, sir?
Look, it hasn't stopped us from day one. We took a lot of public safety threats and national security threats off the streets in one day, which made Chicago safer. Got a lot more work to do. President Trump is committed. We're going to focus on sanctuary cities. That's what we're going to prioritize because we know we have a problem there. So there is going to be, as I said several weeks ago, we're going to flood the zone in sanctuary cities like Chicago, like Los Angeles, like San Francisco, and New York. We're going to flood the zone, and Chicago is one of them. We're going to go there and make Chicago safe again. President Trump committed that to American people, and the men and women of ICE and the Border Patrol will keep his promise.
Charlie, Erin and I live here in Florida. You live in New York, where your zone is about to be flooded. How do you feel about that?
feel really good about it. I just the term flood the zone. I mean, just like the boldness, the emphasis he puts on what's going to happen. I'm all about it. I mean, the fact that we're a sanctuary city, I never agreed with from the very beginning. I mean, when you look at even our mayor right now, Eric Adams, who may or may not be running come November, given the recent developments, we'll see. He has aligned himself greatly with Trump. He certainly seems to be on board with the immigration policies. The problem is there's now these city policies that won't allow him to do his job properly. So, yes, the zone needs to be flooded because even, for example, here in New York City, the mayor's hands are tied. So he can't even take care of the safety of the people who live here, the dignity of the people who live here. So absolutely, if we need really brute force to get the job done and make these cities safer and get things running smoothly again, and not just protecting, people like me and you, but also law enforcement. We've seen what's happened recently. I mean, just in this summer, an NYPD officer was attacked by an illegal. So yeah, I'm all about it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it needs to happen sooner than later.
Erin, I know we can always talk about how wonderful Florida is, but doesn't it to some degree seem just complete?
Well, Erin's from New York. Let's all remind everybody.
Yes, I'm from New York too.
I was like my dark past, Charlie.
Right. Right. We escaped. I think you're giving her credit there. But in some sense, when you move to a place where things work, you just go about your life and things work and it's great and wonderful and you don't have to think about it. And then you see these things and you're like, how in the high hell does any sane person subject themselves to it? So to me, if you're a sane New Yorker, you want that zone flooded right now.
Yes, I think the only people who are against this are the limousine liberals, right? The what do they call them? Champagne socialists, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants this. And I do want to give Charlie credit, and I want to give Republicans in red states credit. Charlie, don't get used to this. This is not how, our love language is usually trash talk. So, but I do want to say that we need these cities for America to be great. New York City is the economic powerhouse of America and the world. I don't want to see it crumble. I want to see New York be great again. What's amazing about all of this, though, is to the points before on the stats you were giving, what Tom Homan was saying, it's amazing what you can do when you actually care and just do something about a problem. But no, it's really nice just retreating to Florida where life is Candyland. But we need to make sure New York is just a safe place for people to go and do business. So thank you, Charlie.
Right. For the record, as two former New Yorkers and a current New Yorker, we would all love for New York to be great again. It's extremely sad when I go back. I usually only go back to do Gutfeld at this point, and I go to Midtown, and it's just like, this is not the place that I grew up in anymore. Charlie, do you have something?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I also just think you're noticing even like the people who used to just shy away from touching hot button issues like these, like Morning Joe, for example, on MSNBC, you would never in the past have heard them question Democratic policies. Now all of a sudden, you've got Joe Scarborough like coming right at him, like J.B. Pritzker, Brandon
Johnson,
Brandon Johnson. He's like, what are they doing? If they're not going to take care of the people in Chicago, then what option do we have here? You never would have heard him talk like that in the past, but suddenly everyone's getting sick of it. They're like, wait a second, like there is a real problem. We know there's a real problem. We know there's a real problem, and we're just not going to do anything about it.
So Chicago, let's focus on Chicago for a sec, because there's something super interesting happening in Chicago where it's not just obviously the illegal immigration problem because they were a sanctuary city, but also the endless amount of murders. 7,000 murders in 10 years. We checked the numbers. That's 700 murders a year. We'll see where 2025 shakes out. But here's a report from CBS Chicago talking about how Trump's going to try to tackle both those things, the illegal part and then the sort of general criminality and gang violence part at the same time.
Breaking news now, there is word from Washington that the Trump administration is planning to conduct a major immigration enforcement operation right here in Chicago. Sources confirmed to CBS News that could could include armored trucks, federal troops, and ICE agents flooding the city. This morning, city leaders briefed a group of reporters, including CBS News Chicago investigator Megan DeMar. She is with me now to talk about this plan and what you learned.
Right. So multiple sources tell us that expected deployment is expected by next Friday, September 5th. Now, Mayor Johnson said they've heard the same reports, but about ICE agents, about possible deployment of National Guards, but they haven't had any direct communication from the federal government.
Aaron, I don't really care what people's skin color is. It turns out that most of the people that are killed in Chicago are black people killed by other black people, usually in gang and or drug-related violence. The left purports to be for black people, but seemingly is very upset when someone goes in to try to stop the black people from being killed. I spoke very slowly there to illustrate a point because I'm trying to convince these people that maybe this is actually a good thing. I don't think it's going to work, though.
No, I mean, the thing that we don't talk about enough when we talk about Chicago specifically is that our first gay president, Barack Obama, has done absolutely nothing to help the people of Chicago. The man who, the community organizer, the only job he had basically before becoming president of the United States. If he cared about Black Americans, this would be his number one issue. And instead, where was he last week? Probably on Martha's Vineyard, right? Where there's another drowned chef in the water somewhere. So, of course, that we all know that Black Americans want to be safe the way that everyone else wants to be safe in their neighborhood. And so it's absolutely, my video keeps freezing. I'm not sure why, guys. Sorry. Hopefully you can still see me. But yes, this is an issue that it's like the white savior has decided for Black people that they don't really want the police when Black Americans are saying they want safer neighborhoods. This is something that they actually want. And white people are saying, no, you're good. Keep shooting each other.
Charlie, if we were really trying to get in the head of one of these people that don't want these things fixed, let's say you're in the head of Brandon Johnson, like what do you think the argument is for every week, 20, it's usually about 30 people get shot, about a dozen people killed, again, almost all Black. But putting aside race or anything else, like what would you think the best argument that they could make for why they are allowing this happen would be if we were really trying to kind of steel man their position?
I mean, it's tough to really say. I mean, you could go back to the question of why did Joe Biden allow millions upon millions upon millions of illegals to pour into the country during his administration? I mean, there was like different arguments that could be made. He was trying to repopulate the United States to become more democratic, to become more liberal, more progressive, to which they would then vote for more liberal and progressive and democratic candidates in future elections. And therefore, someone like Trump would never get into office. I mean, I'm not really understanding when you hear him speak on public programs, on news programs, he can't even give a straight answer as to why he's not doing anything to protect his constituents. So your guess is as good as mine. I'm just happy that I don't live in Chicago, although I don't live in like somewhere that I can so much brag about the policies.
Yeah.
But I actually do like Eric Adams, and I do think he has many of our best interests. I just think his hands are tied in his specific situation as far as what he can do. But
What do you think is going to happen in New York? As long as you brought up Eric Adams, I mean, the guy's polled. Last I saw,
I think it's time Charlie starts learning some Arabic. That's what I think.
Well, there's now I don't know if it's even fair to call them rumors at this point, reports. I'm not really sure that Trump is looking to perhaps pull Eric Adams into a White House position, something that would take him then out of the mayoral race because it doesn't look like he's going to win. It doesn't look like But anyone besides Mamdani has a shot at winning. If we have three, it's 3 against 1. This is what I've been saying along. I'm like, Trump needs to step in. He needs to protect the professional and personal elements of probably Sliwa, I would imagine, and Eric Adams, and say, listen, you cannot run. We need all of our eggs in one basket if we're going to defeat this socialist nutcase. And it looks like that's what's starting to exactly happen.
So you think that basket is Andrew Cuomo?
I do. I think while a lot of people have their problems with Cuomo, I think they still know what they're getting with Andrew Cuomo because he's already been in office and there's like a little bit of comfort in, okay, we've seen what you can do. Is it the greatest? No. Is it the worst? No. But there's enough people
what you
who
can do. Kill tens of thousands of elderly.
He shouldn't have killed all those old people because they
Listen,
vote.
I understand. But like putting that aside, and that was horrible. And I don't want to,
Charlie, I'm giving you a hard time. I'm with you. I think we should all
every sane person is with you. Yeah.
For one day, every New Yorker needs to be a Cuomo-sexual and vote for Andrew Cuomo and save the city. Dave, if I could actually make a DJ request for another show closer to the election, I actually think we need a campaign against Curtis Sliwa. The man, he's actually the only one who can't be bought, which is crazy because he's the one we need to make sure leaves the race. He's been running for mayor of New York City since I can remember as a child. And in the last election, when they asked him, what's the issue you care the most about? He said, saving the cats. Saving the cats. Okay.
Is there a pussy
So what song are you requesting?
Yeah, so what's the song?
My DJ request is a topic. No, the topic of Curtis Sliwa and a smear campaign. I'm actively, openly asking to get Curtis out of the race because Cuomo, Adams, they could both be bribed out of running for mayor. They could both be given positions in law firms or in an admin, and they'll drop out. But we need it to be Andrew Cuomo for the name recognition alone. Curtis Sliwa is unrealistically, selfishly running and taking votes away.
God, what a sad state of affairs that it has to be any of these. Charlie, I do agree with you, by the way. It's not that Cuomo's hard. Yes, has he done some seriously stupid stuff, especially during COVID? Yes. He's not a horrible human being. He's not a radical lunatic leftist. But that the idea that he's the savior, or Eric Adams, who it sounds like you both kind of like a little more than I do, because to me, he ushered in so much of this, that he's the savior of the very city he largely destroyed. Also,
he did usher in a lot.
Yeah.
I think he realized very quickly what was, listen, Eric Adams, I think he's built a little bit differently. I'm not saying he's built well, but like he's the guy we've been seeing at Zero Bond. He's the guy that has like the corner table at all of the hottest restaurants. He's mixing and mingling, not just with people politically. He's like trying to build himself up and build a life for himself that's interesting to him. And I think he's also realizing, hey, a lot of these people, they are not down with the policies of the city. So what do I do to appease them as well? And that's what he started like getting more in with Trump.
Well, if we're slightly having trouble ordering which is the worst of the saviors here, let's go to someone who I'm pretty sure we can all agree is quite horrific and thankfully no longer in public life, although she was one. I mean, the idea that Brandon Johnson is worse than this woman is extraordinary. Lori Lightfoot, ladies and gentlemen.
If he comes to Chicago, he's going to be in court, and he's going to be sued by the state, he's going to be sued by the city, and I believe that there will be private interests that also sue him. This is not about violent crime, and I don't think we should pretend that this manufactured crisis and his attempt to provoke people in Chicago is legitimate exercise of power. It is not. If he really cared about violent crime, go after the gun manufacturers who are just mass producing these weapons and have no liability or accountability. Go after the gun stores that know that they're selling to straw purchasers that flood into our city. Pass common sense gun reform that we have been begging for decades. Those are the kinds of things that actually would make a meaningful difference in violent crime. He's not talking about any of those things. He will not do any of those things because this is not about violent crime. It's about something else.
Aaron, do I have to ask a question there? Or you want to just talk about Lori Lightfoot?
Let me just spew some stuff. First, let's talk about Dave, you know me too well.
Yeah.
First, every time I look at Lori Lightfoot, I really did I did not prep this, so it might come out all wrong. But she reminds me of a bouncer at the back door of a bad jazz club that you see at 3 a.m. who's trying to like bum a cigarette from you. There's something about the way she's dressed that I would call the boyfriend look, except we know it's not from her boyfriend. It's like an ill-fitting suit. And like, it really is, I'm not trying to be lookist, but at the same time, when someone makes a choice to have their hair like that, you have to wonder what's going on inside. And is it, Lori, is it a cry for help? That's the hair situation you always choose. So no, I mean, they're all posturing. Everyone's always like passing the puck up. Is it puck? Passing whatever, kicking the can down the road to someone else when it comes to problems that they created when she was in office. She could have done many things. I would love to know a single accomplishment that Lori Lightfoot actually can point to from her?
Oh, we have one. We have one. I'm waiting for somebody to maybe say Lori Lightfoot's never accomplished anything in her tenure as mayor, because look at this.
Oh my God.
You know, I get to see your faces when we play these things. The audience doesn't. Have neither one of you seen that clip before? That was Lori Lightfoot.
I've never seen it.
She dressed up
I think
as...
I blacked it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So who doesn't have any accomplishments now, Erin?
You're so...
Erin, would you like to walk back your statement? Yes, I feel like you owe her an apology, a big one.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me on air. On this record, Dave. I appreciate it. No, she looks worse than the fake Wuhan bat we were told about. I just can't. This is years ago, right? At this point, it must be 5 years ago, and she somehow looks worse.
Charlie, the temerity of these people who get everything wrong. Like, again, why doesn't Lori Lightfoot is black? I assume as a good progressive, she cares whether black people are getting killed. And yet not only did she do nothing, the new mayor is doing nothing, and they're pissed at the people that are trying to do something.
I don't think that she's worried about anybody, because if she could call the violence in Chicago a manufactured problem,
right,
concocted by Trump, that tells you all you need to know. I mean, anybody who's paying even a slight bit of attention, Chicago has a horrific crime rate. And in fact, you know, recently over the weekend, we saw it skyrocket. Everybody's talking about it. There's nothing manufactured about those numbers. Those are cold, hard facts. Something needs to be done. But clearly, if she's willing to just like so boldly come out and say there is no issue, and she expects people to just get on board with her, I mean, she doesn't believe a word that she says. But, you know, these are the talking points that she has been told to say out loud, and she's maybe she does believe them herself. Who knows? Just like Letitia James recently said that Zohran Mamdani was born and raised in the Bronx, when we all know he's from Uganda.
Yes, like AOC was born and raised in the Bronx, even though she's not.
Exactly.
Oh God, these people. All right, let's talk about PDS debt for a minute, and then we will not show you any other video of Lori Lightfoot. I promise. The system isn't broken, it's rigged. And if you're buried in debt, that's exactly how they want it. Big banks profit when you're desperate. Creditors win when you lose. But you don't have to play their game. That's where PDS debt comes in. They've already helped hundreds of thousands of people break free from credit cards, loans, and high-interest traps. And now they can help you. Here's what makes them different. PDS goes beyond the numbers to actually understand your unique financial situation. They'll craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required, and the focus is simple. Help you save more, pay off debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. And they've earned people's trust. PDS has an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, has thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. That's because they've helped real people take back control. You're just 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/Rubin. That's pdsdebt.com/Rubin. One more time, pdsdebt.com/Rubin. Okay, so there's some really wacky stuff involving Robert F. Kennedy and a congressional hearing that's been happening over the last 24 hours or so. But let me first jump to this story from Fox News, the headline about what's going on with HHS right now as he's trying to clean it up. More than 1,000 HHS workers demand Kennedy resignation over CDC director firing and agency changes. So look, Bobby's going in with the Maha thing, saying we're getting rid of these draconian laws. We're not going to do mandates again. We're going to look at vaccines. He's doing all of the things he promised, all of the reasons that Maha joined MAGA. This has people seriously pissed. Frankly, to me, you fire every single one of those people yesterday. They should all be gone. Before I have you guys chime in, he then testifies. This was the viral clip of yesterday on the interwebs. He testifies at Congress, and Elizabeth Warren was not too happy with him.
Are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise,
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
you want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
It is so obvious to me that that's the woman in the movie who's supposed to be like the indifferent sort of quiet librarian who then eats children after school. That's number one. Number two, he's not taking away vaccines from anybody. All he's saying is the government isn't going to recommend things that we don't have enough information about, kind of like the COVID vaccine, but you can still go get it at CVS or Walgreens if you want to. Charlie, I just don't like this woman, and Bobby should just not be subjected to this, but it's just never going to end. They hate a traitor more than anyone else.
So first of all, when he said you've taken $855,000, I thought he was about to say you've taken 855,000 boosters. Like, I was waiting for him to come at her with that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was ready for it. I started laughing in advance, and I was like, oh no, he's not going to say that. But she probably has taken 855,000 boosters, which is, a problem in itself. Yeah. We all, after having now several years to look at, let's just use the COVID vaccine as the prime example as to something that was shoved down our throats, not just recommended, but demanded for most people who wanted to keep their jobs and stay alive. A lot of people, there's like all this fear mongering going on. And now we have the retrospective be like, no, not only was it not necessary or fruitful in the terms of helping the virus not to spread per se, but also there's a lot of horrible side effects people are now realizing. So, it's when we have that information and RFK is like, no, I'm not going to recommend something that is not proven to help anybody. In fact, in many cases has been proven to hurt people. This is the type of person we want more of. So to have someone like Elizabeth Warren be like, I can't believe you. This is crazy. You're breaking your promises. Absolutely not. He's doing everything and more he said he's going to do. And I want to see more people like RFK Jr. in office helping us to get to the right place. Because, we stick with the old, we all know what's going to happen, right? He's the new way, and we need to make America healthy again.
Aaron, what do we do about the disconnect, the reality disconnect on all of this stuff? Because obviously we watch this. Everyone watching my show is watching it going, of course, Bobby's right. The government doesn't have to recommend it. And if you want to stick something in your body, go ahead and do it. It doesn't mean the government has to recommend it. Knows that she's lying, knows that she takes money from pharmaceuticals, even if that's not the reason she's doing it. What do we do about the general disconnect that there are still millions of people that will watch that clip, or it'll be shown on other, lefty YouTube channels or whatever it is, that are going to watch it and be like, Bobby Kennedy's hiding vaccines for people. And blah. Like, how are we ever going to arbitrage these two realities?
Yeah, when I watched that clip, I was thinking if Elizabeth Warren were actually Native American, her name would be She Who Cries Crocodile Tears, because we all know she sounded like she was trying to cry, or she was trying to be upset. But it wasn't even working. She couldn't even convince herself because she knows what she's saying is patently false. He is saying to her, I'm not, like you both pointed out, I'm not getting rid of these vaccines. We're just not forcing it on people. And there are two problems there. The first is that the left has gotten very high on their own supply of being the authoritarian ruling class of this country. And they love the control. That was COVID, right? Take the jab. It doesn't matter which one or how many. It doesn't matter if it's one with J&J or two with Pfizer. It doesn't matter. You just have to prove that you listened to us and you submitted. And with the left, it's always about submission. And they're losing that power, and the loss of that control is making them absolutely spiral. But the second thing is, and I usually like to be funny about this stuff, but this is so deeply unfunny to me, which is, I think really this boils down to, I know it sounds like a non sequitur almost, but the trans issue to me is where all these other problems stem from, which is the left has decided to distort reality, right? So we have RFK saying, you don't have to take the vaccines. They're still available. And she says, you're getting rid of them, right? A boy is a boy, a girl is a girl. That's not true. Like, we're dealing with half of the country that refuses just to acknowledge the same data set, the same set of facts, that we can't even agree on just basic truths anymore. And we're just talking past each other. There is no more intellectual honesty, right? You could just be honest and say, this is okay. Not everything that Trump or his administration or RFK, whatever they do, not everything needs the knee-jerk reaction from the left to oppose it. But this is why I get very specific on pronouns and language, because if we let people slide away with distorting reality, that's when you get a hearing like this where a sitting congresswoman refuses to acknowledge what RFK is saying.
Right. And they do this with all the words and all the phrases. Gender affirming care. It's the least affirming thing you could do when you chop off a child's genitals. But okay, let's leave that. We will jump. It turns out that Donald Trump did not die earlier in the week. That had some people very upset. First, Tax Network USA, and then we'll get to some people booing about it. If you're stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline or your books are a mess, don't wait. The IRS is cracking down and penalties add up fast. 5% per month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there's help. Tax Network USA can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, employees, small business owners, even people who haven't filed in years. Messy books, no problem. They've seen it all and they know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win. You'll start with a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. They'll also help protect you from wage garnishments and bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter to show up in your mailbox. Take action now. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dave to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. That's 1-800-958-1000 or tnusa.com/Dave. Take the pressure off and let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. So Stephen Colbert, a man who makes $20 million for one more year to host a show that loses $50 million a year. Show me the math on that. He's almost out of a job, but here he is talking about how there was a hoax going on over the Labor Day weekend that Donald Trump had died. Turns out Donald Trump, thank God, did not die. Colbert's audience was, let's say, less than enthused.
When I came back in the office, I was shocked to learn that this weekend, the biggest story was frenzied social media rumors speculating whether Donald Trump had died. For the record, Donald Trump is very much alive, okay? And no, we like our presidents alive. Donald Trump is very much alive, and this whole crazy rumor started simply because Trump had 0 events on his schedule Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and one of the only signs that he might still be around was music in the Rose Garden, which the White House confirmed was the president's music, which I gotta say is not the strongest proof of life. Yes, nurse, I do see that flat line, but the patient is clearly alive because his iPhone is playing Papa Loves Mambo. Papa Loves Mambo. Anyway, but because...
Okay, so yes, it's obviously overly scripted. They're telling people when to laugh. He knows it's not even funny. He's embarrassed, sort of, when they boo, even though he's ginned them up for all of this stuff. Like, let's put aside Trump, the hoax for a second. Like, the idea that these shows even exist at this point is almost patently ridiculous, right, Charlie?
Well, yeah, it's like The View. I mean, The View is like the most extreme example. Listen, all I have to say is I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I do not have a mother that watches The View, because how do you defend that? I mean, it's just one of those things. I truly don't understand what type of person finds it entertaining, tells their friends about it, repeats the things they heard. I mean, I guess for one, like, some of these shows are all for show, right? Like, it used to be cool to go to like Jimmy Kimmel or like Jimmy Fallon. I don't even remember all their names anymore.
Johnny Carson.
You know what I mean? Like, it used to be cool to go on these shows, and now it's just like this big charade of lameness and people pretending to like it. And I don't know, you've got people from like these little tiny pockets, like in the country that are like, I'm going to go to these big cities and go to these shows and sit there and I'm going to laugh because I feel like I should. And like, I just had my like cheap box wine before I came here. So maybe it's a little more funny than it normally would have been. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't go to those shows, so that answers your question. I don't really know. I'm not there.
Right. I mean, they literally, in the audience at these shows, have a sign that tells you when to laugh. That is all you need to know.
Like the seals.
Yeah.
The seal.
Erin, we almost did it. We almost had a Rubin report first. You already know what I'm going to say. I'm back this week.
Without mentioning
The View was not mentioned once. We didn't play a clip. Nothing.
I didn't even know that was a thing, so you're welcome. I didn't want to break the streak. It was
What did I get you, Dave? For Dave's birthday,
Yeah.
I planted trees in Israel in Sonny Hostin's name.
In Sonny Hostin's name. There's a Sonny Hostin tree in Israel for me.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, but also
Does
the
she know this?
hypocrisy. Can we talk about the fact that the hypocrisy of that clip, specifically with Stephen Colbert talking about how the confirmation is the music? You mean you're the same people that roughly a year ago took a letter signed by Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race when we had legitimately not seen the man, and you thought we were crazy for wondering where the president was? Meanwhile, President Trump takes a holiday weekend to not solve global conflict or impose tariffs that work and don't cause inflation while markets go up, or do one of the million other things that the man is doing on a daily basis. My favorite thing, though, is on our podcast, which we shot yesterday, and you guys can find us, Members Club Pod. We're on YouTube. Thanks so much. And shameless plug, Dave. But my favorite thing was asking Charlie, where were you when you found out that Trump was dead? And Charlie's answer was, I actually found out he was dead when he was confirmed to be alive, because I'd been unaware of these rumors. It was crazy. And it was like, it was stuck in the blue sky, like mental asylum chamber, right? Where we didn't even know what was going on, that it was our headlines about what was happening over on the left side of the aisle. I knew about it because liberal friends of mine were texting me, asking me what happened to Trump, and I knew it had to be fake, because you go on, it's a normal day on Twitter. People in the White House are doing their work and posting about it, and they got themselves into such a frenzy. They convinced themselves with wishful thinking, because again, this is the party that's nihilistic. They hate themselves, so they hate everyone else. They want to sterilize the kids. Like that, it's that party that wanted that was so joyous that the president could possibly be dead.
Well, here's a unemployed woman talking about Trump's health.
Mainstream media will not touch these questions about Donald Trump's obviously declining health. His ankles are the size of watermelons. He can like barely...
Elephant. They're like elephant legs, you know?
They're like elephant legs.
Straight down.
He can barely walk down a flight of stairs. And that's not even new. He can barely walk up or down stairs. When Joe Biden was president... I mean, where is Jake Tapper? Okay, we got to live in speculation, and not from just the Twitter world that was, of course, attacking Joe Biden and saying he was senile or that he was dead. There was a meme online that Joe Biden was deceased and that it was really Barack Obama running the country. We had to hear that all on social media, but that bled right onto mainstream media, who would constantly speculate about Joe Biden's health, whether he was fit enough to be president, whether he was going senile, if he ever slipped. The guy had a stutter. God forbid he stutters suddenly. Okay, now with Trump, the mainstream media is so terrified of him.
Charlie, is Joy Reid a natural blonde?
You know what? The thing I noticed first and foremost, I like squinted. I'm like, what is this Black History Hall of Fame she's sitting in front of? Like, that's her backdrop. Naturally, it would be. You know, I am a woman in my 30s and I get swollen ankles sometime. Like, that's not something we need to be extremely worried about, okay? Like, sometimes you get a little bloated, right? When you're going from time zone to time zone, Trump's a busy guy. Sometimes you get a little bit of extra bloating. We weren't speculating about Joe Biden being senile. Right. We had evidence. We saw him constantly smelling little children. We saw him almost like veer off into the jungle after doing a press conference. We saw him slip up the stairs of Air Force One. We saw him stumbling on stage constantly. We saw him forgetting what he was supposed to say. I mean, this was on a daily basis. We weren't speculating about anything. So it's just, I mean, this is just the most insane double standard I have ever heard. If we thought there was something really wrong with Trump, I really, really believe if something really showed up on a regular basis that was concerning, people would be talking about it because, you know, of course we want to support him, but we also are not going to prop up someone who's not fit to run this country. And the good news is, guys, if God forbid Trump wasn't fit to run the country anymore, we have a phenomenal backup in J.D. Vance.
Not only is that a great point,
we would not be worried.
I like how you very subtly connected the smelling of children to the senility. I'm pretty sure those things were completely unconnected, but you definitely, like, I think if you Google senility, it doesn't have anything to do with smelling children. His smelling children thing was happening way before the senility, but
Charlie,
maybe though the fact that he was willing to, the fact that he was willing to do it when he knew he was on camera. Maybe shows that he was senile, right?
He was taking showers with Ashley Biden long before the senility set in, so
yeah,
no excuses there, right?
Erin, do you want to pile on, Joy, or should we just move on to Joe Biden eating ice cream for just 1 second? Because yes,
if I could just add one thing, which is again the cultural appropriation of blonde hair from liberal Black celebrities who insist that everything is cultural appropriation except when Joy Reid or Beyonce or whoever it is does it. Then that's or Whoopi Goldberg. You know, I did a petition. Surprisingly, it didn't go anywhere to have her give up her culturally appropriated last name, Goldberg. Never see her in synagogue. Never seen her eat a bagel. And
she eats bagels.
They persist.
Lots of them.
She eats them by the bag.
She eats something.
We'll do this very quickly because it's low-hanging fruit. But Joe Biden, the man that literally less than a year and a half ago was still running to be president. This is all he can do at this point. Show up to an ice cream shop and listen to the way they talk to him and about him as if he's a 5-year-old.
God bless you, President.
Well, the whole family, yeah, exactly. Double cone.
He's double cone. Hey, listen, once in a blue moon.
Guys, I know it's low-hanging fruit. It's ridiculous. It's pointless to talk about him. He now also has cancer, which he likely had, and they hid, and all of the stuff. But when you really look at that and you see the frailty and the way they're talking about him, and it's sort of like Dr. Jill Biden, remember after the debate, you answered all the questions. The fact that they dare, that Joy Reid or any of these people, that they dare participate in anything as it pertains to Trump, that is the man that they wanted to be president right now. It really is deranged, Erin.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that now that he's out of office and we've moved on to better things, a part of me feels a little sad for him and a little sorry. And the idea that maybe if he really is, he's been senile, perhaps everything started out of his control. Like Dr. Jill Biden, by the way, the Diet Dr. Pepper sitting on my desk over here is more of a doctor than she is. But, you know, maybe this is really a case of elder abuse and he didn't have a choice and he was just being guided along and he couldn't say much. I would think that, except when you look at his record for decades in U.S. government, he has always been extreme. He has always hated half this country. He has always supported some of the most vile policies that have been put forth. So I don't feel badly at all. I hope he gets haunted through his days as he goes into public. And I don't feel sorry for him. No.
Yeah, I get it. There's like the human part, and then there's this other part of like, sorry, you chose this thing, and then you're in a machine that's abusing you and everything else. Charlie.
Yeah, but I will say, you know what, though? I have to say, and because, you know, I do feel like when you look at the left, they are the ones that constantly, like, you hear, like, Dave, I can't forget the time, the way we met was on Piers Morgan and that crazy person who was, like, excited that Trump was shot at.
Oh, right,
you know, like,
right.
You hear people like him saying, oh, like, these people deserve what they get. Like, listen, I still have a lot of human left in me. Like, politics aside, like, I don't want to see anyone have cancer. I don't want to see anyone, you know, become a shell of themselves in a way that, you know, it's sad. It is sad for me to see videos like that. But it also makes me sad that we as a country had that as our president. And that, like, we were forced to believe that that was okay and that we were all being gaslit into, like, thinking that we were the horrible ones. So, well,
think about this. He was president in this calendar year.
Yeah.
Through January. He was our president. That's crazy. And also, I didn't realize you guys were trauma bonded. You guys are trauma bonded.
We are trauma bonded, and I like seeing you guys do a little good cop, bad cop. That's nice. But now let's really pile on Charlie here, because as we illustrated, she lives in New York. They're about to become a socialist shithole run by jihadis and genderqueer lunatics. Here is Zohran Mamdani talking about some of his policies.
A lot of what our campaign is portrayed as if there is no precedent for it. Think about democratic socialism. I am a democratic socialist. I also wouldn't be the first democratic socialist mayor. We've had a number, and we've even had a mayor who was a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. That's David Dinkins, not just a few decades ago. And people ask me, how can this interact with New York City being the home of global finance? And I say my focus as a democratic socialist is ensuring that every New Yorker lives a dignified life. That is my responsibility, to ensure that what you need, what is necessary for you, is something that you're not priced out of. I believe that the city should provide universal child care.
It's my first week back. I'm not going to say all the things. David Dinkins.
We want you to say all the things.
David Dinkins was mayor of New York City when I lived in Long Island, and my great-grandparents and grandparents and many cousins all lived in New York City, and we'd go there every weekend. And he turned that place into an abject, drug-infested hellhole that a guy by the name of Rudy Giuliani cleaned up. We all know the story there. But I really want to focus, put aside the policies. Everyone watching this gets that the policies are ridiculous. Can you guys talk to the fake affect that he's using, the whisper and that NPR thing? Because there's something else. We all get the bad policies. There's something else going on with the way they've packaged him. They took sort of a quasi-jihadist, lefty, socialist, whatever you want to call him, and they filtered him, and they play lo-fi music in the background, and he whispers like an NPR freak. And somehow, what do you guys are younger than me, what do you think that's doing to the internet generation? Charlie, you first, since you're going to have to live through it.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
First of all, please, I'm still not convinced that this is going to be the future. I think if people are smart enough and Trump gets in and does his thing, like we spoke about earlier, I do believe there's still hope for New York City. And I also know that there's enough powerful people who are still rallying together to try to create a very positive force that drives us into November. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, have you ever seen, and I mean, it could be similar to what we just saw with Stephen Colbert. There are certain TV shows that, when you plug in the laughter, you at home, when you hear other people laugh, it makes you want to laugh. It makes you smile. So then your memories of watching the show are ones of, oh, I was laughing and I was smiling during the show. If they weren't to have people forced laughing during the show, your reactions and like your inner dialogue and how you felt would also be changed. I also feel like when you watch TV shows back, they plug in music at very specific places. If they were to take the music out and we were just to have the characters sitting with themselves and speaking and there was no music, or even like on social media, take a reel and take the music out of the background and just have the, action taking place as it was, it has a totally different feel, a totally different effect on you. And I think that's what they're doing. Like, they're finding ways to make him appeal to your inner senses, to your emotions, and they're finding ways that aren't actually natural to him, but superficial ways in order to get you to relate to a guy like him. So they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, getting a pretty charismatic guy like himself who has seemingly progressive ideas, even though we know that they're just repackaged horrible ideas. Like Bill de Blasio just endorsed this guy. So it's there's a lot going on, but the way he's being packaged, the way he's being presented is smart, and his poll numbers are reflecting.
Well, let's throw actually to Bill de Blasio, who was I guess you could say he was a Democrat socialist. I don't know if he exactly said it, but he was a horrific mayor of New York City who led to a lot of this disaster. He's endorsing Mamdani, and he had a less than impressive appearance on television. Watch this.
Free bus. And who runs that? The city of New York runs it, just like we run so many other services. And the bottom line here is to think about the free buses again. Free buses has been proven to work in many parts of the country.
Where?
I'll get you a list of cities, but the bottom line is it is something that allows people to, one, reduce their costs, which people are overwhelmed by, to get into mass transit more. It works because we know that if people are given a quality alternative they can afford, they'll use it.
Bill, could you name one place? I'll get back to you with the list. My God, Aaron, these people.
I know. Well, first of all, the bus and subway are free for the people who don't pay for it. And I feel like an idiot every time I'm swiping my Metro card, or now you could tap it finally after all these years. But no, I'm actually one of the few people that stands online at CVS in New York City to go buy something after waiting 300 hours for a worker to open every last section of CVS for me to get my shampoo.
Wait a minute. You're paying for your deodorant, you sucker?
I know. It's crazy. But, you know, I had forgotten what it was like to have cuck Lord Bill de Blasio on the news because, as we all know, his wife was going around to Vogue and all the magazines talking about their open marriage that he was so clearly upset over. The man who killed Puxatawny Phil, Justice for Phil, if we could just remember him for a second. That's like the Groundhog Day.
Oh, yes.
Pulled Phil up, and Bill de Blasio somehow dropped him. And then he died. So, like, these are things that
literally
like,
killed the
very
groundhog,
important New York City lore for people to remember. So that is the man endorsing. Like, I was gonna do.
He's like, I did a shitty job, but I wasn't able to. Like, I need you to finish the shitty job that I wasn't able to. Yeah,
you know, Zohran Mamdani is like the guy running for class president who's saying free vending machine and no homework, and everyone's like, yeah. And the problem with this is that no one uses their brains anymore, and everyone has goldfish memories. And because life in New York City, and Charlie and I could both attest to this, it is expensive, it is hard, it is grinding, there is a lot of friction, and people just look for change. And so when you have a soft-spoken, low-T soy beta loser who's saying, like, I believe in change, like, don't just follow me, trust me, that's who they're going to go with.
Are you saying Bill de Blasio had no good ideas? Because I thought during COVID this was pretty solid.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated. You're saying I could get this? These delicious fries? Wait a minute. But there's also a burger element to this? Let me check with Bill Neathart. Is it too early in the day to eat a burger? No. This could be breakfast? Okay. I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination.
You know, I've seen that video 100 times, but did he turn and say, let me ask Bill Retard about was that what he said? Let me ask Bill Retard about the fry.
God.
Like, guys.
The ASMR, I forgot about the ASMR part of that unseemly video with the soft French fries and the, like, things I didn't need on this. Oh.
This episode is brought to you by Rumble Premium, the home of free speech and exclusive content from Voices That Matter. With Rumble Premium, you get ad-free viewing, access to exclusive shows, and premium features across the platform. We're talking about Steven Crowder's Mug Club, Tim Pool's Timcast, and Russell Brand's Raw Commentary, plus tons of other bold creators you won't find anywhere else. Whether it's breaking news, real talk, or the content that challenges the narrative, Rumble Premium puts you in the front row. Support creators who actually say what they mean and mean what they say. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin to join today. That's rumble.com/premium/Rubin, because the truth shouldn't come with a filter. Let's do one other thing here. Let's go across the pond. Here is a compilation of anti-immigration protests happening over Australia, New Zealand, UK, France, Spain, Australia, Poland, and Germany. So that kind of gives you some hope that all those racists right there might actually take their countries over again. Right, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, people are certainly realizing what the prices that they're going to have to pay if policies like this remain in place. So, yeah, I love seeing stuff like that. I just hope that, you know, it doesn't get to the point where now you speak out against immigration and you decide to rally and do things like that, then now you are at threat of being arrested. I don't know how you arrest all those people. Exactly. I mean, and that's going to scare a lot of people, but I'm happy people at least have the courage to say, you know what, if it means potentially being arrested, so what? At least I can stand up for what I believe in. So yeah, it gives me some hope, I suppose, but I don't really know what to think anymore, honestly.
Let's end with this because I think it perfectly sums up so much of what we've been talking about, and actually just what you mentioned right there, Charlie. There is a comedian by the name of Linehan from the UK.
Yeah.
Here's Fox covering him being arrested for exercising what we once called free speech.
This comes as British comedian Graham Linehan posted yesterday that he's been arrested again. When he landed at Heathrow Airport, Linehan says he was met by 5 armed officers. He says they told him he was being arrested over 3 posts on X. Linehan writes, quote, "In a country where pedophiles escape sentencing, where knife crime is out of control, where women are assaulted and harassed every time they gather to speak, the state had mobilized 5 armed officers to arrest a comedy writer for this tweet. And no, I promise you, I am not making this up."
Yeah, it definitely is not new. I mean, the New York Post reported just a few months ago that they'd had dozens and dozens of arrests per day based on social media postings. Meanwhile, obviously, they have crime problems that are out of control in the UK. They've had massive scandals inside the UK government and covered up by the UK media, including that Rotherham grooming gang scandal, which actually spanned a number of cities in the UK. And currently, Yvette Cooper, who's the Home Secretary over there, is talking about importing more refugees from the Middle East who are presumably not going to share sort of the UK's historic values. So this is what it looks like when a civilization decides to completely hollow itself out.
Well, I don't know who that fast-talking little guy is, but he makes a good point. There's been a lot of really bad stuff happening in the UK, like the mass grooming and raping by Pakistani gangs. They're not even gangs, like just they're random men that
like
have been...
Middle Eastern men that were allowed to come to here.
Right. So we've had an awful lot of that, and they're going after the comedians. So I guess we should all just be happy to live in the United States, at least the 3 of us, huh?
Yes, but also we should be happy that, you have comedians like this who are still willing to stand their ground, because did you see the way that he showed up today for court? He had the signs hanging around his chest, saying there's no such thing as a transgender child.
Yeah,
and then on the flip side, keep men out of women's sports. Oh, you have it. Okay, cool. Yeah, because that was definitely a win.
Yeah. Aaron, bring us home here. Final thought. Should we arrest comedians for saying that boys and girls are different?
Well, it's funny because I like to fancy myself somewhat of a comedian, which is, as a woman, a very bold thing to say, but I like to think I'm funny for a woman. The bar for that is exceptionally
I agree. I think
low.
I'm a little funny, Aaron.
No.
Charlie also.
A little funny.
For women,
Charlie,
you're hilarious.
Charlie doesn't try to be funny. She doesn't try. I actively want to be funny. So it's like the active, relentless, unapologetic pursuit. But we're women, and so we could just, no one else is funny, so it's fine. And Dave, you started really in comedy, and so I do think when the comedy is the place of truth. And if comedians can't say what you know to be true, even if it's uncomfortable or offensive or you disagree with it, comedy is the final beacon of free speech in a society. So good for him. Good. We'll keep saying, just laugh, but no laugh tracks. We didn't need any laugh tracks on the show. Somehow we managed to entertain you, if you're still watching this, without any background noise the entire time.
Right. I mean, Oscar Wilde, to loosely quote him, if you want to tell people the truth, you better be funny or they're going to kill you. What a two happening chicks like you guys do on the weekend. Charlie in New York, what are you going to do besides avoiding horrible stuff?
Well, I am actually playing in a pickleball tournament this weekend. And let me just also say, I've never played pickleball in my life, so it could be very interesting. A very interesting showing, but I'm paired up with a pro pickleball player. So hopefully they pull their weight. Otherwise, I'm just going to be kicking it, watching a little U.S. Open tennis and enjoying the last, few weeks of beautiful weather we have here in New York, and hopefully staying safe and not, getting mugged.
All you need to know about pickleball is there's going to be a long line of ambulances taking the old people who break a hip and twist a knee and crush their face, and it's kind of fun to watch. Aaron, you're in the free state of Florida. What are you doing? Rodeo, alligator wrestling. You're going to the Everglades to fight with what?
It's funny you say that, though, because for people who don't know this, I'm hiking all the national parks. I'm not doing any this weekend, but I've done 47 of the now 63 U.S. national parks. And I did the Everglades years ago, and I did the ranger-led swamp slog, where you're up to your chest in the swamp with all the different critters that exist. that could possibly attack you. And I strategically went during the polar vortex of 2017. So they were all like kind of tucked away asleep because I'm terrified of all those animals. So I did that. But no, it's a chill weekend. I was away for almost the entire month of August. I'm so happy to be back, just seeing friends, spending time with Theo, my dog, and that's it.
Ladies, I've enjoyed this. We will do it again. Everyone else, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Back on Monday.